I've been sharing my life online for 2 years now, and I thought now is the perfect time to just delve a little bit deeper into my life and answer any questions you might have, because I love to overshare. I asked on Instagram if you had any questions specifically for a YouTube Q&A, and I'm going to answer as many of them as possible. If you're seeing me for the first time and wondering who the hell is this girl that's doing a Q&A, I'm Abby. I talk all things life and money and my own experiences with money, and I try and be really honest about all the things that I feel like no one else is, in the hopes that it helps people be a little bit better with money, or even just feel more comfortable talking and dealing with their money. So first question is, any advice for splitting finances with a partner if you earn more from a side hustle? Now, I've spoken online many times about the fact that me and my boyfriend haven't split our bills 50-50 since we moved in together. We now actually do split bills 50-50, and that's because we're earning similar amounts, so we're both doing similar amounts around the house. And within talking about this, I've always mentioned that side hustles and things like bonuses aren't included in this. The main reason is because it's pretty inconsistent. So in March, I earned 10 grand from content, and in April, I earned like 1.5. So it's very hard to keep on top of that and constantly change. We both earn from side hustles. My boyfriend probably was earning more from side hustles to start with. He got very into crypto over lockdown, was earning through that, and I was working throughout the whole thing and didn't earn any extra. So we're very up and down with how much we earn from side hustles. Last year, my full-time job was content, and therefore I didn't do any side hustles because my side hustles were my full-time job. So it's just an easier blanket. It's not included. Some people might not like this because you're taking extra money, but normally our side hustle money just goes straight into savings, so we know that we're saving for a house or for the future that we're building together. In terms of any advice, I would definitely say it's very personal. I would say it really depends on your circumstances, on the time that you have to do things around the house. I think that contributions to the house aren't just financial. You need to consider things like housework, mental load, if you have children, the fact that the woman has birthed the children, anything like that. I just think is also really important to consider. The best advice I can give is just have a really open and honest conversation about money. And if your partner isn't willing to do that, that is probably the biggest red flag you can have. Okay, next question. How did you accumulate your savings and investments at a still relatively young age? I'm guessing this question is asking how I built up savings at a young age. I'll start off by saying that I have only recently moved my money into my investments. Most of it was in savings. So aside from the 4%, maybe 5% at some point interest rate I've been getting, all of that money has been built up through income rather than dividends or growth in a portfolio. So we bought our house in October 2023, and at that point I had around £25,000 in savings. It should have been less, but my grandpa passed away and I got, I think, £5,000 in inheritance money. And I am really not joking when I say that I saved way more money when being a homeowner than when I was living with my parents. Prior to buying a house, I had just under £40,000, £39,000 saved up, and that took me from 2019 to save up, so 4 years. But I did sort of splurge on a few new cars, but I was just spending a lot of money at this point. But over that 4 years, I just spent quite a lot of money, to be honest. I'm just looking at my savings tracker now. And the first full year of being a homeowner, I saved £20,000. I think that just having a mortgage really made me focus on the fact that I needed to save more money, but also the fact that I needed to earn more. So that was the year that I started side hustling. That was the year I started content. We're talking around about 2 years ago now. And honestly, that changed my life in terms of the way I see money, the way I see my income, and also the way I see earning from a full-time job. I spend quite a lot on holidays, probably quite a lot less than other people spend, but I go on holiday quite a lot. And that is my main area of splurging. Other than that, I don't tend to spend a lot of money. The top I'm wearing is from a charity shop. I don't buy a lot of things. I don't spend a lot of money on going out. I don't drink. I stopped buying a more expensive car. I don't have a car on finance. I try to live well within my means and also try and increase my income. I think the fact that I'm 24 is kind of irrelevant. I've worked for over 10 years now. I probably only had about £700 by the time I started working when I was 18. But I've always had that strong work ethic and mindset that money is pretty important and I need to save it. In terms of investments, I've only been investing for a year now, and that's definitely very new to me. So I'm still learning, but basically I moved a big lump sum of my savings into investments, because I thought if other people can invest and grow their money, why can't I? How do you manage your mental health with money? This is such an interesting question, and I would say I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect when it comes to managing my mental health with money. I definitely have anxiety around spending. I would say the only times I really emotionally spend are when I'm pretty stressed and I convenience spend, but to me that's worth it. Other than that, I tend to go on the more cautious side of spending, and some may call me a tight ass. But I definitely choose to be more careful with how I spend my money. In terms of allowing myself to spend money, I think the best way to be able to feel comfortable doing this is to set a budget. And I think budgeting is often associated with scrimping, being frugal, not spending any money, but actually it can be really important to allocate money to a certain thing. And that's how I felt comfortable knowing that I can afford this certain thing because I've budgeted for it. So budgeting doesn't just have to be restrictive. And I don't think budgeting is restrictive. I think it's just having that level of control. And for me, having control means I feel less worried and anxious about things. How do you do it all? I'm honestly in awe of you and your work ethic. I don't think I do it all. I have to say I have a very helpful boyfriend who does a lot around the house, particularly when I'm busier with content or work, and I'm very fortunate that we are in a very supportive partnership, I would say. But being realistic, I do sacrifice quite a lot to do content. I do often feel pretty overwhelmed by all the things I have to do, and I just try and prioritize a certain amount of things in a day. I'm not going to be able to do my 10,000 steps every day. I'm not going to be able to get my runs in and my workouts in because I have deadlines and I have things that I need to do that I'm contracted for. And I also have a full-time job. I would definitely say that setting clear boundaries with my work helps. Rarely will you see me working after 5 o'clock. And if you do, it's probably because I started a little later or I had to be out during the day for an appointment or something. It's very important to me that I compartmentalise things. So 9 to 5 is when I do my corporate job, and then outside of that is when I do content. And I find that this really helps to step away, because if I was logging on from home doing my corporate job, I would not have the time to do content. Likewise, I try and maximise my time and try and be super efficient using AI and various different tools and subscriptions that I have. But I would definitely say I do not do it all. There are plenty of months that I will say to friends, I'm busy, I can't do anything. And most of the time I say I can't do anything in the evenings because they're pretty much the time that I have to work on content and to work out. So it's really just choosing your priorities and what you want to spend your time on and being pretty strict with that. I would say I'm much better at managing my time now that I'm in a full-time job. I'm definitely a person that works better under pressure. So when I have less pressure, I do more work. When I was doing content full-time and being self-employed, I didn't have a lot of motivation in terms of being super efficient because I just had so much time and I found it quite overwhelming. You never went to uni, right? So what did you do when you left school? I did go to uni, but not through your traditional route. I did a degree apprenticeship, and it is the best thing I ever did. When I was doing my A-levels, the plan was always to carry on with education. Me and my dad toured loads of universities. I had my heart set on Bath Uni because I love it. I especially love Bath as a city. And I was looking at doing business management or business administration. Always had a keen interest in events, but I didn't want to do that as a degree because ideally I wanted a pretty good uni to get a degree from. At the same time of applying to unis, I also was applying to apprenticeships. I applied to loads of apprenticeships, and there was one in particular that was pretty local to me. It was a degree apprenticeship where the degree is through Exeter University. It was in finance, which I wasn't particularly interested in, but the prospect of working was quite interesting to me. It wasn't until later on in the application process, you do about 5 stages of the application / recruitment process, and it wasn't until one of the latter stages where you essentially have to network with a load of managers. And it was after that stage that I felt like this was really for me. I had been working for 4 or 5 years at this point, so I was pretty used to being around people, being around adults and also working, and I just knew that that was the right option for me. I'm not a big going out person. I did drink at that time, but I'm not massive on sort of scrimping and saving and living the student life. That was never attractive to me. What was attractive to me was working full-time, earning money, and also not having student debt. So yes, that is what I did when I left school. I turned 18 in August, and in the September I started a degree apprenticeship. The degree apprenticeship was for 4 and a bit years. I graduated in December 2023. And it was a really tough few years, but I'm glad I did it. It taught me so much. I wouldn't be where I am now without that. And as COVID hit 6 months after when I would have started uni, pretty glad that I wasn't having to sit through a degree from my parents' home. Who knows what that would have looked like for me. I ended up working the whole way through COVID. So I probably would have fewer grey hairs by now if I'd have gone to uni, but I probably wouldn't have bought a house. What is your comfort TV show or comfort habit? At the moment, I am watching Hannah Montana on Disney+. I am a huge fan of Hannah Montana. I was a massive Hannah Montana fan, and High School Musical and Camp Rock, Teen Beach Movie, all of the Disney Channel films and all of those. So that is a real comfort. I also love Friends. I don't know what my comfort habit would be. I'm probably a comfort eater, but other than that, I wouldn't say I have loads of comfort habits. I've been recently trying to learn crocheting, and I'm pretty all right at crocheting, but I have got out of the swing of things since we got back from Southeast Asia a month or so ago. So I definitely need to get back into that. I'm definitely someone that will put on a YouTube video or Hannah Montana at the moment on the TV. I like to have something on the TV while I'm on my laptop or even just on my phone or eating my breakfast. What is the most unhinged DM you've received? I would say doing content and particularly talking about money, there is quite a lot of hate you can get. I can't think of one single DM I've received. I think I'm pretty good when it comes to being quite thick-skinned, and I just find a lot of these funny. I used to think that TikTok was one of the worst platforms in terms of comments, but I actually think Facebook might be worse. Sometimes I will share some of the funny comments that I get on my Instagram stories, and the amount of shocked responses that I get is quite eye-opening because I just find them funny. I don't even just find them upsetting. It is what it is. You can't be in this world of content without being pretty thick-skinned and self-assured, I would say. What's one thing you will never spend money on again? I would say alcohol. I'm not gonna stop buying for other people, although I haven't actually had to buy alcohol for anyone else because I have a big stash of bottles that I was given a few birthdays ago, and anytime I have any celebration I need to give someone a present for, I will give them a bottle. I stopped drinking alcohol at the start of 2023. I think the last time I drank was 2022 before midnight on New Year's Eve, and it has just been the best thing I ever did. I initially did it for sleep because when I would drink, my sleep would be awful and it would set me back for weeks and weeks and weeks. But I would say it has been so much more beneficial for me from not feeling peer pressured into things, being a lot more conscious of what I'm spending because I'm not just booking a random taxi home or buying another drink just because I'm out and it's the thing to do. Instead, I'm pretty clear on myself and I say less things I regret. What's your biggest goal in the next year? I would say my biggest goal, I would really like to run a marathon. I did enter the ballot for the London Marathon, so we will wait to see if I do get in, but I would really like to run a marathon. I have done a half marathon before. I signed up to it with less than 2 weeks to go and I did absolutely no training, which I can't say was a wise idea, but I still really enjoyed it. So imagine how much more I would enjoy a half marathon having done the training. I would like to do a half marathon soon. I think my friend and I are going to sign up for one this summer or maybe autumn. I've been trying to up my running and get a little bit more back into it because I've been quite inconsistent over the last few months. But yeah, this time next year, I would like to be running a marathon. What's something nobody tells you about being a content creator? Now, I could go into a whole video on this. Something that no one tells you about when you're doing content is that being a content creator isn't like the best thing in the world. Now, I feel like this is really ungrateful and content has literally changed my life and I love doing content. But having done content full time, I definitely saw the reality of it and it is glamorized so much. The best parts of it are things where you get to be creative and you get cool opportunities, and there is the opportunity to monetize and grow that money. But it's so lonely, pretty inconsistent. You have to be so motivated. And I think that a lot of people don't realize this before they go into doing it full time. And it wasn't until I shared that I was going back to a full-time job last year that I realized that a lot of content creators feel the exact same, and lots have actually gone back to full-time jobs. I'm not the only one. What's your treat yourself purchase that you'll never feel guilty about? My automatic response to this is probably spending on travel. It's just an area that I choose to spend on. I wouldn't even class it as treating myself. I know that it is very fortunate that I am able to do this, but I will scrimp and save on so many things to be able to travel. But I definitely would never feel guilty about booking a nice hotel, because to me, that is just worth all the money in the world. I will obviously do the research and look into things, but having a good night's sleep and just being really comfortable and feeling really safe is just so important to me when it comes to traveling. What's the weirdest way you have ever saved money? Now, a lot of people will talk about impulse spending, but I often will just buy things if I'm out in impulse, but I often will take things back, and I feel like this is such a good hack because it means that you're able to get that dopamine hit of buying something. But when that regret sets in, I just take the things back. I'm happy to order things online and buy things in the shops, but I'm just really strict with myself when I get them home as to whether I'm actually going to use them and get my money's worth. So for example, I went into Zara the other day and I bought 2 tops, one that I've had before and I just needed to replace, and another that I just really liked when I saw it. And when I got it home, it just didn't fit the way I wanted, and I left it a few days and I just decided that I'm going to take it back. And I have absolutely no problem doing that, even to the point that I take things back to charity shops. So that is probably the weirdest way that I save money, but also maybe a hack. How fast is your 5K? Probably my best way of answering this is by looking at my parkrun results. I might have a faster 5K time, but I'm not exactly sure when that was, so it's a little bit hard to find. So my fastest 5K was 29 minutes exactly. This was on a fairly flat course, and then I've also done other best course times of 29 minutes 39 and 29 minutes 26. So I would say that is my best 5K time. I can pretty comfortably do a 5K in like 31 minutes. How do you ask for brand collaborations? And do you teach workshops, would like to enroll? So I don't have any masterclasses or workshops or anything like that. I do have a side hustle income tracker that I have on my page where it's just the money tracker that I use to track everything in terms of my finances for my side hustle or my business. And that also has different like tips and tricks that I found really helpful. In terms of asking for brand collaborations, I did all of this myself for just over a year, and then earlier this year I signed with a management agency, so they will go out, they will pitch me to certain brands, and they will also sort of know of different campaigns that are being worked on with other creators that they're working with, or they might have existing relationships with brands and the brands or agencies will come to them. So at the moment I'm not doing any outreach, but in the past I have done quite a lot of outreach. I will DM a brand on Instagram or rarely and occasionally a person on LinkedIn to see if they have any opportunities, but a lot of the time most of my income has come from brands that have come to me, and this is all just through me putting myself out there and posting content and tagging brands, etc. I have used platforms in the past for UGC, but I don't think I've ever got a brand deal through a platform. But yeah, I definitely recommend UGC platforms if you're wanting to do UGC. How much did you make in total in the last tax year from content? I have not done my self-assessment yet. This is quite late for me and I love doing my self-assessment. A couple of years ago, I did like a file myself assessment with me. So let me know if you would like me to do that, because I find submitting my self-assessment very interesting. I don't get an accountant to do it, I do it all myself. In terms of income, I'm not sure how much I made up until, oh, I wonder if Monzo will tell me. I do use the Monzo business account and app, which is so useful. I was very rubbish in terms of quite a lot of things were paid into my personal accounts. I also used tied, but I don't get like a yearly roundup of my income, so I can't see that as like an overview. But in my Monzo account, I took £43,349 in the last tax year. But yeah, as I mentioned, that definitely does not include everything. So let me know if you would like me to do my self-assessment, and then at least you can see my total when I do work it out. It is 1 o'clock, I'm pretty hungry, so I'm gonna make my lunch. Thank you so much for watching this Q&A. I hope you found it useful and you got some sort of insight into my life. If you have any other questions, just comment below. If you did enjoy the video, give it a like and subscribe if you wanna see more.